And we move on. So next up, our AWS community hero, Anton Babenko. He's known for Terraform modules. Please welcome Anton Babenko.
Hello, everyone. Let's talk about a little bit less enterprise things. Let's talk about open source, maybe some Terraform. Okay, cool, I have slides, amazing. So, yeah, let's talk about Serverless and AWS and Terraform. So, first slide. My name is Anton, and for last, many years I've been working on Terraform AWS modules and a couple other projects some of you may know or use. Can you raise your hand if you, let's say, if you don't use any of these things? Okay? Well, yeah, one person don't use any of these things. Cool, so you have some homework to do. The rest of you guys and girls, thank you very much for using this stuff because that's pretty much the way I work. I find some inspiration when I attend conferences and I see what interesting problems people have, and usually I try to help and I share it, present different conferences and publish different newsletters and so on. I have YouTube channel with I think more than 8,000 people where I make interviews with creators and different tools reviews, and I occasionally do live coding because I think a lot of people find it useful to see how I'm thinking about Terraform and how exactly I'm developing certain things. So if you want to learn more, please go to YouTube, search for my name and subscribe. Also, I publish Terraform weekly newsletter with more than 7,000 subscribers because apparently people like to read newsletter. So thank you very much for doing that. It's a lot of fun. But many years ago, I started actually with Terraform AWS modules because I really like the idea that something can be implemented once and make it as generic as possible, and then people will somehow get things implemented significantly quicker and on higher quality. So that's how Terraform AWS modules started. Currently, there are more than 50 open source modules. Raise your hand if you use this stuff, because I really like to see, okay, yeah, so about half of the room is actually using this stuff, which is really cool. So thank you very much for that. So far, there are approximately 500,000 downloads per day from GitHub. So when people spin up VPC, EKS, and other services, they tend to use these solutions. That's pretty cool. Also, I don't have time for a full-time job, so that's why I rely on open source donations and people who put my work into the business critical applications. They tend to support me. And approximately half a year ago, AWS finally realized that I'm not going to disappear so soon. So they start to mention my work on the official documents. And if you go to Serverless computing webpage, and if you start learning about how to get started and what kind of developer tools are available, you will see Serverless TF. So this is pretty much what I'm going to talk today about. And also, yeah, if you have any questions or if something is not clear, you can always reach out to me, or maybe you can even ask in the middle of presentation. It's totally fine. We're all humans. So that should be fine. So this is how sample serverless architecture looks like, right? I don't have to explain like what is serverless, why it's cool, why it's not cool, when you should use it. There are plenty of blog posts about it. You can always find it and read it. It's really not so exciting for me to talk about this. What excites me most is how to implement certain things so that you have significantly better quality than if you would be doing it using another solution, which I'm going to compare, and I think I will try to convince you to use Serverless TF soon. So what is serverless? Well, serverless is essentially that we need to focus significant amount of time on how we write and how we distribute and what we put inside of our application code, while the rest of services which we use in our architecture are managed by AWS or by other cloud provider. Like in this case, we use API Gateway and we use DynamoDB, which are managed services, so we don't have to think about them so much. We have to put significant efforts into writing our business logic inside of Lambda functions, and that's the whole point. If we look into what kind of tools we have for that, well, apparently we use Terraform, or okay, let me ask one more time, who doesn't use Terraform? Raise your hand and leave this room. Okay, you can still be here. Okay, because most of you are probably using Terraform, even not for serverless components, but probably for VPC, IAM roles, and so on. So my idea is that Terraform is a pretty good tool to do all of this. So what if we think about using Terraform to manage infrastructure component as well as application code? So what kind of available options do we have for that? Well, the first one is if we go to AWS official resources, we will see that there is AWS CloudFormation or serverless application model, or we can use serverless framework for that. Fine, this is like default for serverless. Or if we look into what kind of tools do we have to manage infrastructure, obviously it's Terraform and CloudFormation and Cloud Development Kit, which is CDK. Well, that's for infrastructure. If we look into tools what we can have to use to deploy, we typically use some sort of shell scripts, or we use managed services by AWS, like code deploy, code pipeline, and so on. Or we can always script things ourselves by just calling AWS CLI, and it will do the deployment. So there are plenty of different options. One thing which we always don't kind of overestimate, and we think like, okay, that's going to be a miracle because this project is going to be exception. Everything will work from the first attempt. No, it will not. And you will occasionally go through yak shaving, and you will fix something what you have not been planning to spend a lot of time, and you will be fixing, and rabbit holing, and then at the end of the day, you realize that, well, you didn't do actually anything, right? Sounds familiar, right? When you debug something, and then 2 hours later, you figure out why you even started in IT, right? That's a typical experience for myself, at least. And if we look into typical problems or typical challenges when it comes to work with serverless, we can always think that many of the solutions are actually overlapping. And it's really important that we need to distinguish that most of these solutions bring a lot of accidental complexity. Accidental complexity is a very important term in this regard. It is something what we should not have to be dealing with, but we are dealing with. So very good article actually is on Wikipedia about accidental complexity. So if you want to learn how it is applicable to IT, I really encourage you to check it. And another thing is, since serverless is not like, I don't know, 20 years old, new for most people, we still have some sort of friction and some sort of division in our head between whether this resource or whether this service is actually part of traditional server set or architecture, or it is purely serverless. So we have this internal mind kind of separation in our head. So when we look into alternatives, I think it's very important to understand that we need to try to keep focus on what we are good at. So mostly we should be good at writing our business logic. That's where we have to spend most of our time. While infrastructure code is totally fine to be managed using Terraform, that's it. So forget about all other options. Let's keep these two things application code in your favorite programming language, and infrastructure, and everything related to infrastructure is for Terraform. So accidental complexity is so essential that in modern development, we have to spend a lot of time fixing internals or going into internals, and that's not where we want to be. One of example for myself is that when I have to go deep into JavaScript, I really regret that I'm doing IT, like completely. I don't understand why JavaScript is invented, why it is so hard to work with, why people are not even in questioning that JavaScript is the worst language ever, and so on. So I really think that it's just important to think about this, like, is this what I have to be doing, or are there simpler way? And in most cases, there are simple way, but we are just maybe lazy, or maybe we have other priorities, and we don't think like, well, my colleagues will be thinking that I'm probably not smart enough if I cannot fix this JavaScript error. Luckily, there is ChatGPT, but still, I still have to understand what ChatGPT tells me to do. And overlap in all infrastructure management tool is something what a lot of people like to brag about. Like, hey, my tool is better than your tool. Let's just don't have this discussion. If you like one tool, great. If you don't like another tool, great. All of these tools are pretty equal in terms that you can get things done. But as I asked earlier, most of you are familiar or using Terraform anyway, so that's good. So Serverless TF is a project which I started 4 years ago to help people to build, deploy, and manage serverless application on AWS using Terraform. I started this project because it was almost impossible to get things done, and almost always people were thinking that if it's hard, then it's okay. No, it's not okay. Then something is missing. Something has to be improved. Something has to be simplified. And that's pretty much the whole inspiration for most of my work, which I work for many years. If there is a problem or something is not obvious, then it should be improved. Currently, Serverless TF has support for many traditional and serverless services provided by AWS. Some of these icons you can see here. You can be familiar with traditional serverless services like Lambda and API gateway, but also there are supports for all kind of S3 buckets, code deploy, secret manager, and so on. So what is actually Serverless TF? Well, Serverless TF is, I like to call it as a framework, but essentially it is a collection of decoupled modules for various tasks. If you need to build something, if you need to package it, then there is Terraform AWS Lambda module with currently more than 100,000 downloads per day. So people seem to use it quite actively. And yeah, it's fully open source, and the rest you can read yourself. Okay, let's do some demo. Demo should be fun, if it works. Yes, it works. Oh my God, it's my first time demo. So, yeah, I don't know what to comment. But I'm just showing how a typical Serverless TF project looks like. We have several Terraform modules calls to create various resources like ACM certificate, API gateway, DynamoDB table. And as you can see, it is calling just Terraform AWS modules for various things. Also, there is invocation to a couple Lambda modules where I specify what kind of runtime I want, what kind of policy statements should be for the execution role, and who is actually allowing to call this Lambda function. All of this is configurable, and there are hundreds or even thousands more parameters which you can specify in each of these modules. So after you write these Terraform configuration files, you run Terraform init to download modules. Then you run Terraform apply. You should review all these 43 things which are going to be added. Obviously, I didn't, but you shouldn't. So then you see a long output, and as always with Terraform, you need to scroll to line 78, and then you see that actually there is invocation to the Lambda function module, which package the function. And this is very important, that now application code is part of the Terraform lifecycle. Think about this, that if you change something inside of your application code, Terraform will be able to understand that you have changed something in the Lambda function, which means it will have to package a new zip archive, it will have to upload it to S3, it will have to update reference to this Lambda function, and so on. Everything is very transparent. So the only command which you need to run, and this is really important to understand, is just Terraform apply, where application is one of the components of your dependency graph for Terraform. So then, after you confirm it, you wait a little bit, and you can see that some resources are being created, like API gateway and resources for certificate. Sometimes takes a little bit time, but at the end of this demo, everything will be created. And another thing which is important is, let me wait a little bit. Yeah, so these services are supported, and if you go to Serverless TF website, you can read how, like the whole story, why this project was created in first place, and as you can see the comparison between project and a lot of links to examples. In Terraform AWS modules, as well as in Serverless TF project, there are no tests, like no functional tests. There are only examples which we execute automatically many times a day. So here I can see that Terraform was executed successfully, and now if I run HTTP to get to this API gateway endpoint, I can see the confirmation that hello from Serverless TF and Lambda function returns response. Everything is very simple in a way that you run Terraform apply, resources were created, then you call endpoint, and here you are. So I want to explain one more time what is actually in the core of Serverless TF. While it is completely open source project, the core component is Lambda module, where you are able to specify all properties of Lambda functions, and you can specify how to make package, whether you want to build it or you want to reuse it, what kind of policy to attach, execution role, and so on. Lots of different parameters are available there. Well, not lots, but actually everything what is available to configure through Terraform. Same for API gateway. You may see that you are making API gateway and you create integration for certain routes where you can say that certain get and post goes to different Lambda functions, for example. Same for DynamoDB table. And Lambda function module itself is very powerful because it can be used as a standalone package to handle only the creation of package, which means that you can specify what kind of commands do you want to invoke, which source path, one or many, you want to build. And there are a lot of support for different languages and for different tools like pip, poetry, npm, and so on, as well as possibility to use Docker and build for other platforms. If you are using, let's say, Mac and you want to build for Linux to deploy it on another platform, for example. Yeah, and I think, let me see, yeah, and deployment is another very important aspect in serverless, since you cannot just roll forward all the time. You may want to control how certain deployment is going to be rolling, and you can specify whether you want to use servers like AWS Code Deploy, or you want to control a lot of properties like how to perform rolling deployment, canary deployments, maybe you want to implement rollbacks and so on. Everything is documented, and most of these things are shown as examples. Integrations in serverless TF is pretty simple. The core principle is that you can use pretty much any Terraform modules out there, but we have all components already in Terraform AWS modules. So hopefully you don't need to look and combine different things, because they can be written in different standards. And yeah, and CI/CD with serverless in general is no different than if you would run Terraform apply in your CI/CD pipeline. As Konstantin was previously talking, that you can put it into CI/CD pipeline on AWS using Code Pipeline and many other services. Same here. There are no external dependencies other than Python, and you can eliminate that as well. I also believe that there is no big problem that you want to run Terraform locally. And I actually want to highlight that if somebody tells you that, no, don't run Terraform apply on your local machine, then something is broken or bad in your company or in your setup. That should be very important step, that you can run Terraform init, plan, apply locally, see output significantly quicker than commit, push, and wait, and then 20 other checks pass, and then you see, oh my God, something is totally wrong. You could have pre-commit Terraform hooks, which I developed. I showed them on the first slide to help you with those checks being caught significantly earlier. And this is thank you slide. I hope you have some questions, because I guess I have time. I have no clue how much time left.
Yes. Okay. Let's take some questions from the audience. Please raise your hand. Okay. And we will be giving up Miro subscription plans for these questions.
3 to 6 months ago, I read a message, news about HashiCorp made Terraform not open source anymore. So my question is, should I still learn and use Terraform, or is there any better forks which is still open source?
Well, I'm really glad that on the talk about serverless, we're talking about licensing. No problem, I can handle this one too. So first of all, the license which has changed August 2023 affected only, and it's really important to understand who it affects. It affects only direct competitors of Terraform Cloud. That's it. Who builds Terraform Cloud competitor? Right, so all of these people are affected, you see? So only if you are building something where you have Terraform as a runner and you charge people money for that, then yes, you're not allowed to do that since version 1.6 or 1.58, I don't remember. All other people definitely can run it, can use it. I don't see any problem why you should be kind of not doing that one. You can use fork if you want, but you have to understand that companies who initiated the fork, they had very direct reasons for doing that.
The question was not really about licensing, but about people usually prefer to use open source projects, and Terraform is not open source, fully open source anymore.
Well, I'm not sure that it's the right way to say fully open source. No, It says clearly, if you go to license agreement, you are not allowed to run it if your business is providing Terraform cloud competitor. That's it. If you, as a company, wants to manage your infrastructure, you can still do it. You have source code, yes. Can you contribute to source code? Yes. Please stop reading blog posts by Spacelift and other people who initiated OpenTOFU.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Let's ask somebody from this
Okay,
room.
we have some hands down there. Oh, yes, yes. We'll be back.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for this presentation, for coming here, and for your contribution as part of the DevOps community, let's say. The question is about serverless and about this model. Is it possible to make some kind of blue-green deployment or not?
To make what?
Blue-green deployment, I mean, with Lambdas.
Well, doing blue-green deployment with Terraform in general is pretty hard. So you need to have some sort of script on top of it. If you use AWS Code Deploy servers, then yes, it has capabilities to do blue-green deployment, and that's going to work pretty well. And yes, it is supported by this Serverless TF. There are examples to do this. But in general, if you want to use something else, you will have to script it pretty much yourself, call AWS CLI maybe a couple times. Yeah, AWS Code Deploy is the best service to do blue-green deployment for pretty much everything on AWS, to my mind. So yes, it is supported.
It's supported.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
There is example in folder examples/deploy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In terms of security breaches, is it better to use serverless deployment or server-based?
Do you want to manage it? Do you want to fix security vulnerabilities? Stay awake, don't see your parents, don't see your kids. Probably you want to be with your friends and family, right? So
Yeah.
serverless is the way to go.
Okay,
You don't have access to servers, server patches. Though I have pretty decent experience with AWS System Manager, where you have a pretty good way of patching system if you want. So there are solutions if you want to manage patches and so on. But the point of serverless, to my mind, is that you really focus on what makes sense. And usually your application, your configuration makes sense, not which version of package is installed and whether it has latest vulnerability. Then you need to somehow patch it. It's not always up to date right now. Maybe it will be available like in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's another hassle which you need to handle. So really big fan of serverless since I'm lazy sysadmin. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's getting popular. All right, there we go.
Thanks for your talk. It was really enjoyable. And in regards of using Python as a Lambda function, I think you can only use Python packages as layers, so you cannot directly upload as Lambda functions. So how does the serverless deal with that? I mean, does it create layers, or is it are the libraries get it to one package and deployed as one file?
No, actually, you can use Python for function as well as for layers. There are certain benefits in using Lambda functions without layers. And I think one of good practice, which we'll hear more and more, is actually to not use layers because it doesn't make a lot of sense in most cases. At least, I mean, you will have to read about it, but AWS is suggesting it kind of to not use it because there are quite a lot of limitations. And also you will have to manage it somehow. updated if you share this layer between multiple. But there are examples of using layers in serverless TF as well as Lambda functions. So yes, you can do, the only trick is that when you are building it as a layer, you will have to put your content in specific location so that when it's connected to the function, it will be automatically discovered. But yeah, it is possible, and most cases you should avoid using layers.
Thanks.
Okay, any other hands? I know right there we have some people. Yes, do you want? Yes.
Okay, thank you. We usually deploy serverless in the cloud, and my question would be, what will be the good testing or debugging strategy when we're using serverless TF to do the deployment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's actually quite funny to hear this question from AWS employee, because AWS employees were the only people who added this functionality to a Lambda module. Because they reached out to me like 2 years ago, maybe even more. They said like, we want to be able to use SAM test command and connect to this Lambda function, which is being deployed using Terraform, so that people can use VS Code to use SAM testing functionality and test whatever is deployed. It's there, it's working. I cannot tell that there are kind of any users using it, but it is there, and you can run SAM test, and you can do it. In most cases, what I find much more effective is possibility to deploy the same infrastructure on another environment where you do your own integration test and functional testing, whatever you want, and then if it works there, then most likely you can use the same configuration or the same version, the same package, and deploy it to other higher-level environment. It is supported kind of out of the box in the Lambda module, but again, in 2 years, I almost never had feedback from end users. Maybe it's not even working, I don't know. But yeah, it's there.
Yeah, thank you. That's really great insight, actually. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can take one. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, thank you for presentation. My question is, I saw accounts with 100, 200 lambdas, and these lambdas also have triggers like SQS, SNS, etc. So my question, how to manage this biggest Terraform file or reusable this code? Because it's a bottleneck for me.
Well, yeah, managing large infrastructure is not limited whether it is serverless or not. Same principles or same kind of best practices should be applied, that you have your Terraform state files smaller. You have to have only resources connected to each other in one Terraform state file. So you have to have usage of versioned modules and so on. So I don't think the question is actually related to or kind of limited to just serverless. Because everywhere you can see like, oh, I have lots of instances, some of them named differently, some have tags, some doesn't have tags. So it's very hard to figure out what's going on in such messy environment. If you have something like 200 or even 5 Lambda functions, all of them were created using different tools without any conventions, good luck understanding what's going on there. It's just impossible to figure out that, yeah, that they are actually going to be reproduced. The project which AWS has is called the App Composer, which potentially should help you to understand what kind of serverless architecture you have. But I don't think it will help you so much if you're using Terraform. It can visualize some things, and it can connect to AWS SAM, but it doesn't have anything to do with Terraform.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think we can take one more if we do have a question. If not, okay. Anton, can you choose the best question? So we will be giving away JetBrains 1 year full subscription. So that will be the price.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. Well, I only remember the question, the question about license, because it was first absolutely irrelevant question. Thank you very much for that.
All right, sweet. Okay, yes. Thank you. And all others who ask the question will be getting a Miro 3 months trial for business. So thank you. Please, round of applause to Anton Babenko, coming all the way from Los Angeles and coming back to Norway. He's currently the country where he's living in.